Hey there. I finally get to share with you something that I've been working on for the past few weeks. For a while, I've been trying to find a way to improve the look and feel of the Kublai P1, but at an affordable price. There's parts out there that are CNC machine, injection molded, and so on, or might even have some fancy brand on them, but they tend to cost a fair bit. Now, the way that I look at it is you probably already spent $350 at least on your blaster, plus, if you've done a slide, internal upgrades, and then especially magazines, like these are $80 at X-Force per magazine and up to $120 in other places. So it gets expensive very quickly, especially if you're trying to run this as a primary or as something that you're going to be using quite often. Now, the kinds of parts or the upgrades that I'm talking about in terms of handling and aesthetics, they're not things that have massive wear and tear on them. They're not things that have massive functional components to them. So I couldn't really justify spending $40 or $50 per plate or for a magazine well on its own. So that was my major thing. The other one was that the overall look, the aesthetics to it, I wanted it to look as though it just suits the Glock, right? As in, maybe it came from the factory like that. Maybe it's an OEM Glock part. I want that look to be a lot more subtle. The stuff that's out there is some like that, which doesn't quite meet what I'm looking for, or other end is it's very, it's like a race gun, which is not what I'm looking for. So I couldn't find what I wanted. So I went and designed my own line of products, and I've been working at that to make sure that it fits straight onto the P1, no tools needed, no issues with it, and it doesn't interfere with your ability to use the blaster, or it doesn't wear on your hands or anything like that. And most importantly, I designed it so it's affordable. This stuff is 3D printed. It's 3D printed in different materials and different finishes. So you have an ability to be able to say, well, I only really want to spend this much, then there's an option for you. Or you want something a little bit flashier, there's an option for you as well. It gives us the liberty to be able to go and do this really fun stuff with it. But this is what it looks like. This is my blacked out P1. So this is what I reviewed a couple of months ago. And the only difference is I've added an RMR into it. But most importantly, I have this kit. So we are calling this the Hustle P1 kit, right? The magazine well is attached to the base of the blaster, and inside the blaster I have a magazine with that enhanced magazine plate. And you'll see overall, in terms of that profile, for me, that looks as though it almost could have been sent out like that, or it looks as though it matches the overall form factor of the Glock, which is quite nice. For those guys that are looking for something that gives that little bit of edge and still meets things like the tactical look and all that sort of stuff, it fits perfectly. If you're looking for that racy look, we have finishes that'll let you do that, but it won't stand out as much as some others. That's how it looks. This here is a matte black finish, so you'll see it's not too glossy. You can hardly even tell it's 3D printed, and the overall finish is extremely nice, right? That's what it looks like fully assembled. In terms of what we're offering, you'll be able to buy these magazine base plates. They will come as a bundle of 3 all the time. You will always buy them in 3s. This here is the magazine well. I might get the blue one just to show you. You can see that's flared out. All right, so these clip straight on, right? The blaster itself, you'll see once it's on here, it's quite difficult to remove, so you need to actually apply a bit of force to it to pull it off. But for those of you that don't know, the reason people install these is the stock magazine well doesn't really have a lot of feeding or space to feed a misaligned magazine. So by simply attaching that, it gives you a better opportunity for that magazine to seat if you happen to slightly misalign it. So when we're talking about close quarters games, speedball, stuff where you're under pressure constantly, being able to change that faster is going to matter, right? Ideally, you're not in those situations, but that's why people do that. Also, for me, that looks cool. Now, this is what it looks like in that metallic blue as well. And you can see that's the magazine on its own. So if we look at, for example, a stock magazine plate, hopefully you can kind of see how much additional grip space that you have. Right, I think the stock plate's like 10 to 15 mil. I don't remember. It's very small, but it doesn't give you much to grab onto. So for example, if your magazine gets stuck, it's a real pain. I've had that. It's a real pain to get that pulled out. But also in terms of your pouches, right? If you're going to be grabbing your magazine from your pouch, you want to be able to grip that with as much real estate as possible so that you can put the magazine into your blaster. So by adding that space on there, it gives you the ability to do that. It's a very cheap way of doing it. It does not add any additional capacity to the magazine, so just be aware of that. This here is purely in terms of, or there for manipulation and protection. So you'll also see there is no fill port for the gas. And the reason for that is these are easy enough to remove when you want to, so that you can slide that open, gas your magazine, and put the plate back. The advantage to that is that if you're playing in dirty environments, for example, if you've played at Spec Ops paintball, you'll know that paint gets everywhere. Or if you play in the dirt, if you play in areas that have a lot of dirt, you're gonna get dirt and gunk and everything in your fill port, and that's where you don't want it. So it's much better to have something that's gonna actually cover that port up for you and protect it. In terms of installation of the magazine plate, that's super easy. So this here is that stock plate. All you gotta do is push that plate forward. You may need to depress that little pin a little bit, but just be really careful. The magazines have very sharp corners. So I've seen people, when they've popped these off, will actually cut their thumb open. So just be very careful. You can slide that open, get your new mag plate, push the pin in, and you're done. That's how easy it is to install. Like I said, it's meant to be easy to install so that it's very trouble-free for you. Now, the only other thing is, in terms of, we talk about quality, right? These things are 3D printed. So because they're 3D printed, because they're plastic, they are durable. Like this here is heat treatable PLA. The only thing I want you to be aware of is that if you happen to drop your magazine, right, from a height, say you drop this, from shoulder height onto the concrete, it is very likely you're gonna crack that plate, but you want it to. And the reason for that is the way that these are being printed include an infill pattern that allows it to basically crack and collapse, but then spring out again. If you have a hard plate, or worse yet, if you just have the stock plate, if that hits the ground, that stock plate will crack and the rest of the shock is gonna go straight through your magazine, right? That's the expensive part. So keep that in mind, right? Now, in terms of what's gonna be available, when you buy these, I think I've already mentioned it, but you will always buy these in a pack of 3. Okay, these come in bundles of 3. In terms of price point, think of it as nearly $10 per piece, and if you drop it, you save your magazine. If you want to get a premium finish, so the premium matte finishes or the metallic finishes, all right, they'll cost a little bit more, but just check those prices online. And same thing, so we have some those same finishes available in the magazine well. So you've got the glossy black, which is a cheaper material, and then you've got your premium matte black finish and your metallics. And if we have stuff in the future, you'll obviously see that. So you can buy those separately, right? So you can get a bundle of 3 plates, or you can buy the magazine well. Alternatively, if you know you want all of it, you can just buy the Hustle P1 bundle. So the bundle will include the magazine well, and it will include 3 plates for you as well. So you can get that. It's cheaper than buying them all separately. And that way, your nice little shiny box, you'll get that and you're ready to go. So that'll all be available online. There is one other question that I've seen about these flared magazines, flared magazine wells, not just mine, but other designs as well, is whether or not it fits the stock plate. So some of the designs that I've seen don't have enough allowance for that stock plate to actually seat correctly. But if you're thinking about doing that, so if you just want that well and you want to use the stock plate, you can see that this flared magazine well caters to that as well. In fact, to the point where it's almost completely concealed. All right, so that's pretty cool, because I know there's some guys that don't like these extended plates, but they still want to have that additional grip space. So that there is the Hustle P1 line of accessories. You can either get them as a group of 3 mag plates, you can get the magazine well on its own, or of course you can buy the whole P1 enhancement bundle and get that sent straight to your door. So check out below for the link to the store. If you've got any ideas, if there's any colors that you want, if there's any other accessories that you'd like to see, let us know. Maybe it's something that we can look at doing, as long as it's something that's doable and we can make affordable to players. Thanks.